Hello and welcome to the Change Gang podcast with me, your host, Laura Ordile. I'm here to help you hold on to your sanity and your soul as you move through big change. I'm here to guide you from frustration to flow in your life, bridging the practical and the woo, just for you. Let's go. Hey, welcome to the Week Change Gang. We have Jo Halcrow back with us. I hope that you caught last week's chat that I had with her all around past life regression because it was so cool. I love the stories. They're just so incredible. So, hey, Jo, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for a minute?
Yes, so I am Jo Halcrow. I am the Spiritual Gateway. I predominantly do past life regression. My spiritual journey started when I was very young. I've done astral traveling. I had a tarot reading when I was 15 that got me addicted to tarot cards. So I still do tarot cards today, but I got into past life regression when I watched a TV show about it about 15 years ago, and I was so fascinated. And then fast forward, I decided to learn how to do hypnotherapy, and part of that was regressing back to the root cause of the issue. And in my mind, I was straight away, hang on, that means I could regress back to past life. So I started playing around with that, practicing on family, and realized it was just the best thing ever. So I'd done a couple of training courses on that because I'd kind of made up my own method of it. And I was doing everything that you're meant to. And it just sort of snowballed from there. And the more I do it, the more I absolutely am more fascinated with it each time.
Well, I think it's great that your family let you practice on them. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of people would be like, especially family. They're like, I love you,
Yeah.
but maybe not. That's great that they trusted you. So one of the things I loved about the way that you did it too, because sometimes when I've looked up, the possibility of doing something with someone, the past life regression, you book in for like 2 or 3 hours with them, and I thought, I don't know if I can do it for that long, and yours is an hour, and I love that. And you got so much done in that hour. So did that kind of develop for you to where you got it down to an hour? Did it start longer for you, or did it always just kind of flow for you in that time period?
I'm a bit like you. I mean, when I trained in hypnotherapy and I had hypnotherapy done on me, after about 45, 50 minutes, my mind starts to wander and I'm like, when is this going to be over? I don't stand it much longer. So I'm very much, so for me, I didn't want my clients to be thinking that as well. So that's why I try and stick to the hour. Sometimes it goes slightly over depending on what's happening. But as over time, as I've developed it, for me, an hour works really well because I can just fit everything I want in that time. We get to see that past life in lots of details. We get all the information that we need from that life. And it just works really well. My clients aren't thinking, oh God, when is this going to end? So that hour works really well. And also when you're doing it, I couldn't imagine doing a session for 2 or 3 hours. I would be exhausted. I'd be like, oh God, I can't do this anymore. So for me, the hour works really well.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that held me back a little bit for a good while in going in and doing it. Is just like I don't think I can't sit and do that for that long. So and then on the other side, as a hypnotherapist myself, thinking, I don't know if I could do a session for that long, and so discovering you and discovering the way, it's just kind of been a big blessing for me in a lot of different ways, professionally and personally. So I have to say thanks for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
And make sure I ask you this time. I did share, post all of your places to gather, and the Spiritual Gateway, and all the, you're on Facebook and TikTok, and you do some different stuff, a little bit of card stuff on
Yeah.
Instagram. I want to make sure that you share some of that on the end before we get done. So don't let me forget that, because I get all excited and talking, and then I forget about some of that stuff. I made myself a note. But oh, I know, there was a one that you just posted on your YouTube channel, and I watched that, and it was such a fun thing to listen to. And just like we talked about kind of on our last get together, it was a little bit of a hard life for this guy. He was chained and taken away from his home, and brought, and ended up, being killed in a not super fun way. I don't know that there's a super fun way to be killed, but
No.
happened in that I found super interesting. And I loved one of the way that you kind of handled it, because you do, and I want to talk a little bit today about going to the death scene, and and then going to meet the guides and the people. But so you took him to his death scene, and then you take them and you move them on from the death scene, and he didn't want to move on.
No.
And I was like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen? I was like, what's gonna happen now? It's not gonna move on. Are you gonna, I wasn't sure if you were gonna kind of push him and guide him, or pull him, or what it was, but you didn't push him. You kind of just changed it and said, all right, we're gonna do something different, and you took him to another place. Can you explain a little bit about that, and why you
Yeah.
did what you did?
Well, when my clients go to their death scene, the majority of people say the same kind of things. They feel themselves being pulled out of the body. They can feel themselves floating up. They're looking down on that scene. They can see themselves lying there dead. If there's family around, they can still hear what's being said. So that's very common in my sessions. And then they feel being drawn up, and they go towards the light. And then when we get to that point, I normally say, okay, I want you to step through the light. And that's when I bring the spirit guide forward. And people say things like, I feel like I'm home. It's an overwhelming feeling of love and peace, and all those lovely things they say. But with him, and because most people say that, I expect everyone to say it, really, I guess. So that was a bit of a curveball. And I was, in my mind, I was thinking, oh God, no, what are we going to do now?
That would be
But there's
me.
no point, I know, but there's no point in me going, and are you being pulled up? And because people could look at that and go, well, she says everyone says the same, but she's putting words into his mouth. And so I wanted to be very clear that I never do that. I allow that client to do whatever they want. And on the very rare occasion, and that was one of them, because he didn't say he was being pulled up and he couldn't see the light, and I was trying a little bit to prompt, but that wasn't happening. I just thought, okay, let's go. So the way I do it, I take you to a garden. I thought I'll take him back to that garden, and then we can ask the spirit guide to come forward in that garden. So we kind of left him in limbo while we spoke to the spirit guide. So he didn't get that experience of being drawn out and going up to the light. But then, obviously that doesn't happen all the time. So it was an
No.
interesting for me.
It was. And what was so fascinating, and you'll have to, you guys listening, go watch the video, because it's so funny at that point, the spirit guide that comes in, and he goes into such detail about his spirit guide, and I could just see his spirit guide. It was so funny. And I think there was a sense of humor with the spirit guide. So that was entertaining. So so if something like that happens in that situation, do you just kind of work intuitively with going,
Yes.
or do you have procedures that you use? You work more intuitively?
I think I just do it intuitively, because sometimes after I look back and think, gosh, I don't know where that came from, but I just done it. And you'll see when when I'm doing past life, I've always got a pen or pencil and my notepad, and I write while I'm asking, and that just, I guess it's a form of automatic writing, really, because the questions will flow, and I just, as I'm writing, I think, oh, I need to ask that, and it gives me something to look back on and go, oh, you said you was married, so where's your wife now? And I can keep a check on what's been said, and also I like to write down what the spirit guides say, because not only is it a lesson for my client, but I think, oh, I can use that. So I like to write down so I can go back and go, I really like that lesson. That's good. So
I like that. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. That's great. That's so great. So you go, and so remind me now, you might have to remind me here, but so the spirit guide is, so when you go in, do you meet the spirit guide first before you meet the
Yeah, always bring the spirit guide in first, so that I can ask them, what was the lesson in that life we've just seen? Because I want my client to understand what were the lessons from that life, particularly if it was a really hard life. They, they want to know what the lessons were from that.
And you talk about, and that's the death scene and the floating away and I recall that. I recall being, up above, and I remember getting emotional at, having to leave my family, and that my family was emotional, and I felt for them, and I can feel it right now just talking to you. Oh my goodness. But so, I mean, there was some big emotions that kind of came through that, but it was so what would I say, soaked in love too. I mean, it's just this huge love that was there, incredible, fills your whole body, which came again a little bit later. But so you go in and you talk to the spirit guide, and there was something interesting that happened for me here that I wanted to share with you that I didn't actually even realize until I think, I don't know if it was that day or a day later or something, but I had more than one spirit guide come forward, which can happen to me normally. I have my team and everything. But so a couple of them came forward, but when they did, I remember kind of going, is there 3 or 4? And it was like this other one was there that I almost didn't recognize. So it was like, is that another guide or something? And so they came forward and they started talking, and there was a new guide that showed up in that moment. And so I'm interested now. I'm fascinated to be like, well, are you here for because I have a big change going on in my life? Are you here for this period of my life, or are you one of my team members now? So but I get to have this whole new chapter and conversation, and they appeared there, and I know it was perfect timing for some reason, but I'm not exactly sure why yet. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm sure it will become clear eventually.
Do you ever have people that meet their guide for the first time? I mean, for the first time here, and then kind of move forward with them in life and stay at that point?
Definitely. A lot of my clients don't do this kind of spiritual work themselves. That's, some people still feel, oh, that's not real, and that's a load of rubbish, and they're not interested in that, but they're quite interested. What was I in a past life? Let's do it for a bit of a laugh. Let's see what comes up. But actually, when it happens, they're all a bit, oh, okay. And then obviously they're meeting their spirit guide for the first time, and that's always quite an amazing part, because they've never even thought about spirit guides before. So then suddenly they're having a full-on conversation, and the spirit guide is telling them lessons and telling them the things that they need now. One of the questions I always ask is, what do I need to know now? What do I need to do now? Am I on the right path? So we're asking all these questions, and they're getting this information, and after they're just kind of shell-shocked, they're a bit like, well, I wasn't expecting that, but they were so clear and I could see them. I had one lady, and she had 2 spirit guides, and she said they were so funny. They were joking. They were like laughing. And I didn't think spirit guides would be like that. So all the spirit guides have got really different personalities, and I done a couple the other day. We just done a guided meditation to meet your spirit guides. They didn't want the full past life, they just wanted that part. And so I done them together and it was really lovely. And afterwards I said to them, okay, tell me about your spirit guides. And the girl, she said her spirit guide was quite stern and was like, no, you need to stop doubting yourself. You need to stop doing that. You're doing a really good job. You're on your right path. Everything's fantastic. You're amazing at what you do. You stop doubting yourself. She was really firm. But he had two spirit guides and he said one wasn't talking. And he said, why isn't that one talking? And they said, because I'm saying everything that needs to be said. She's just here. And it was kind of a bit more relaxed and, oh, it's nice to see you. And you're not quite on the right path, but you'll get there. And, his were much more relaxed. One of them, he said, was in this crazy, he had two ladies. And he said one of them was in this crazy black and white swimsuit with armbands and a frilly hat. And he was like, what's that all about? So yeah, it was fun and it's interesting and I love it. I can't be enough of that.
Have you ever not had a spirit guide not show up in an episode?
Yes. Yeah, that does happen. Spirit guide won't, or my client says I can't see them. I can't. So I say, you don't have to see them. They're going to talk to you. The words are going to drop into your mind. But I think then their conscious mind starts coming in and they start overthinking it and going, this isn't real. I'm getting things I'm making it up. It's my imagination. And they can't, allow themselves to let go for it. And that does happen. And as much as I tried to coach them before and say, just say whatever pops into your mind, and you're always going to get a percentage of people that they just can't.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I think if people would realize that we are given information, our intuition, everything kind of comes through that imagination process. And if you just keep letting it go, it's actually going to make sense. You can start with the three little pigs but once you start talking about the story, once you start allowing things to flow, there's going to be information in there that is actually
absolutely. Yeah,
it's pretty fun there. Okay, and so then you go from the spirit guide and you go into allowing someone to come forward, a loved one that was that's passed. And I don't even, we had talked for a few minutes before the thing, and you had just had someone were telling me about someone that had their puppies come through, their dogs came through, and that happened with me, and I was so dang excited. But what also happened with me is there were all these people that came. I mean, it was like this huge group, not just my people that I knew, my mom, my dad, my friends, but my ancestors. I could see this whole group of people were behind them. And then of course my puppies came up, and I remember at that point, just because you said, something about who's there or whatever. And I got squeaky because I got so emotional, and it's like, oh, there's so many. And you just let me have my moment and everything. But it was so full of love, so full of support, so full of so much. But just the thought of being able to see my puppies again, and to me, this is important as I know that some people won't get that, but some people will. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to some people to know that their animals do go into the spirit world and they can come and visit you. And when I've had that, and that lady I told you about, where she said, I haven't got anyone in spirit that I want to see apart from my dog. And I was like, well, let's give it a go. I was unsure if it was going to work or not. And when it did work, I got really emotional because I was thinking about my dogs that have passed over the years, and we've always had animals. And I got really emotional, more emotional than someone's granny. I was thinking, oh, the dog, the dog.
I know, me too. That's me. I mean, sitting here thinking about it, I'm getting emotional over it. And
Yeah,
but wow, that was so incredible. And I think it's so fun that because I didn't know who I was expecting. I kind of, maybe I had it in my mind that, oh, maybe my mom and dad will come, my grandparents, something like
yeah,
that would be the dogs come. But I totally didn't expect all this whole group of lineage to show
yeah,
up. But it was so cool because it was what was right for me in the moment, to know that
yes,
it wasn't just these few people. It was this everyone that they had my back, and they
exactly.
were part of my life, and they are a part of my life, and they are still supporting me. And just the reminder of, wow, and I think it's incredible. So for whoever you do this for, forever, whoever's thinking about past life regression, there's no set rules in that about, who's going to show up for you or what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Unexpected can be the most beautiful thing that happens.
Yeah, and I love that, you had all these ancestors come through as well. I just, for me, that's just like, wow. I'm gonna do a recording for myself because I want to see if my ancestors come through. I've had my grandparents and my stepdad come through, which is lovely. But to have all the ancestors, I that would just be, I love that. And as you say, whoever comes through is meant to come through at that time. I had a grieving mum, and she was desperate. Her son had passed through suicide 6 months previously. And she was, of course, desperate for him to come through. And her spirit guide just said, it's not going to happen today. He's not going to come. You're not ready to face him and to see him at this moment. You will, but not just yet. And she fully accepted that. She was like, that's fine. And it is true. She said, I think I would find that a bit too difficult. It's too fresh at the moment. But she will get there with it, and she'll try again. But it just wasn't meant to be then. But she did get other things come through, other family come through, just not her son, who she was obviously desperate to see. So it doesn't always work that the person you're desperate to see will come through. Your spirit guide is there to protect you. And if they say you're not ready to see, there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to go with it.
Well, don't you think, though, that there's a little bit of reassurance maybe for her in that, and for anyone, though, that it's not, no, it's just not right now.
Yes,
It's
absolutely. She was actually, because I thought, oh no, I hope she doesn't get to her. But she said, no, I understand, that is true. That is absolutely true. And I think because she could fully see her spirit guide, she was really into that at that point. She took what they said, and she totally understood it. And she got a lovely message anyway from family and stuff. And they'd said to her, he's with us, it's fine, he's fine. That's all she needed to know at that point.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, I mean, as much as we can guide people, sometimes their own self, their own connection,
Yes.
guides, and all that it's going to change the direction every now and then, and so I think it's great that you roll with it so well, and that you move through the things that happen. Have you ever gotten in a situation, a little bit the other day, but you guided yourself through that one pretty good. Have you ever got stumped really in a situation where you're just
I
like,
tell you what's really hard. I'm good at, if I can get someone to a past life, then I can roll with whatever. It's when they won't go to a past life. That sometimes for me, if someone won't go under hypnosis, they won't regress back. That's really tough, because that person really wants that past life. They've paid to have a past life session, and they just won't, they just can't. They're like, no, I'm not seeing anything, I'm not feeling anything. They just won't get there. That's quite rare. I don't have that very often, and I try different techniques, and I go, okay, let's try this, okay, let's try that, but it gets to a point where you have to go, okay, it's not going to happen today, let's rebook. And I send them a meditation to listen to. But I have had a lady, we've tried 3 times, and she's still not been able to get to the point where she sees a past life. That's frustrating for me, and for her, of course. And I've got, of course, so when you book with me, you pay in advance, and I gave her money back because she didn't have that experience. That's not a problem, but it's just frustrating for me, because I'm like, oh, why isn't she going back? Why isn't she able to let go and go with it? But just some people aren't. Some people are very resistant, as you probably know, to hypnotherapy. I don't know if it's that scare thing, or they don't trust what they're seeing or hearing or feeling. They just for whatever reason won't go back. That's when I find it difficult.
So do you try, technical question for the hypnotherapist here. So do you try taking them a little bit deeper when someone is a little bit resistant? You just kind of go down a little bit deeper and see if they'll relax.
So I do a bit more of a longer induction. I do a bit more of a longer guided, walking along the path, going into the garden. I'd extend that a bit, trying to get them in that relaxed state. But a particular, she was like, well, I can't see the garden, I can't see it, I can't see a path, I can only see black. You don't have to see it, you just have to feel it. It's just, go with what I'm saying. But she just couldn't do it. So that, as I say, that's frustrating for me and for her, because she really wanted to go to her past life. The other thing that I find frustrating is if someone has booked with me, and then they're like, they've got their family running around. I had this lady, and people were in and out of the room, and she kept going, oh, hang on a minute, can you just, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's not a good plan. Not gonna work.
No. And also this lady, I literally got to the very end of her hypnosis. I was just about to bring her back to the happy memory in this life, and her husband walked in the bedroom and asked her a question, full on asked her a question, and she just sort of opened her eyes and went, in the middle of this, and he went, yeah, but I need to know where whatever it is. And she was like, it's on the side. And he was like, oh, right, okay. And we'd done virtually the whole session at that point. I was like, oh my God, no. So I always say to
that's not the, it's like, I have a place I want to end on, and it's not there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at that point, I didn't do the spirit guide and seeing loved ones. This is going back quite a few years now. And I guess you learn from that. So I say to my clients, you can't have interruption. You need. I had one lady, and she said, well, I've got children. They're gonna come in the room. So I was like, well, no, that's not gonna work for me. I think in the end, I'd done the session, and she sat in her car.
Well, I guess if that's where they have their alone time, you got to do what you got to do. So
yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. That now I'm all off. I could probably talk about that for a long time. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. So with past life regression, what's something you want everyone to know about it?
I want everyone to know that it is real. When I started doing it, honestly, I done it with a really open mind, and I thought, I don't know if this is real or not, if people make it up or not, I'm not sure. Literally, after doing it, I think I'd done it about 3 times, and I was like, this has to be real. People can't make this up. You're not making it up in your mind. This is real. The detail that comes up is incredible. You know, the things people see, like that session with Marcus on YouTube, he's able to say so much detail. You know, he's telling you how he feels, what he's hearing. He could smell it. You can't make, if I asked you to make a story up and then we done a past life, you would see a huge difference. It has to be real. There is no doubt in my mind that past lives are real, and you only have to do it once to be able to see that. So that's what I'd like everyone to know. It is real. It is real.
Yes, and you've had people actually go and look up and verify and see some of the things. There was a woman who, if I remember right, with a tower that they saw.
Yes.
That is literally in a place. I mean, it's a real tower in England, right? In England.
So no, that tower actually is in Ibiza in Spain, and the way she found, she was locked in this tower and ended up being killed, and it was quite a traumatic life. And then a little while later, her mum was on holiday and took a photo from a hotel room, said, look at this view. And the tower was right there in this view. And actually she flew out to see, she said, I've got to come out. That's the tower I was in. So she totally recognized it. But I've had someone who was a World War II. He was a gunner in the back of a plane in World War II. And he was coming over the English Channel. And he was actually in this life, he was German. So he was coming in to bomb England, a small town on the south coast called Southampton. I don't know if it's a city actually, and it's a city. So he was coming in to bomb Southampton, and he got blown out of the sky. Well, he gave lots of details about, you know, the dates, the exact date. So he didn't just give me the year. He gave me the day, the month, and the year. When he investigated it after, 2 German planes were blown out of the sky going over the English Channel. They were coming in to bomb Southampton. So that actually did happen. And he found out the names. So it all fitted in. So he could say that was him and that did happen. He didn't know about that before. And I've also had someone that was like a star on stage from the 1800s, and she was like a music hall singer in London, and she sung really like cheeky type songs, and she was well known and was very successful. And this person had heard of her but knew nothing about her. But when she went back to that past life, she went back to being on stage doing, and she started singing and everything. It was one of the funniest sessions I've ever done. Actually, when we looked it up after, it was a person. She explained everything she was wearing. She said, I've got this black lacy corset, this umbrella, and she was singing. The king had come in to see her. She said, I'm singing for the king. And we looked it up, and all of it was true. Everything she had said was true about that lady's life. So yeah,
cool. That's so cool. That is so cool. I mean, how do you not say, give a nod to that? How do you not? I think that's so incredible. And yeah, that's one of the things that, you know, you read some of the stories about the kids, especially who talk about the past lives and give the information, and it's so documented, and they come up with names, and like there's the little gentleman who was a fighter pilot and who died. I can't think of his name. I think
James, I think. Yeah,
what an incredible story. And you're getting to hear that and have that happen with the people that you're communicating with. I think that's so great. I just love that. So I'm gonna step even a little deeper into the woo for just a minute. I know we're gonna be finishing up here in just a second, but I believe that you did have a conversation or had a chat one time with someone who wasn't able to go into a past life, but I think you talked about going into a future life, or there was also maybe, and I don't know if this is the same one, that
It is.
was off planet. There was
Yeah.
an off planet.
So she could definitely regress because we went to a happy memory in this life, but she couldn't go back to a past life. And it just suddenly occurred to me, I just suddenly thought, what if this is her first life? She hasn't had any. Let's try and go forward. So it's called future life progression. So we just went forward and she went so easily into that life. It was incredible. So it was 250 or 350 years ahead. And, she went in so easily. And she said, she was 19. She said, I'm with my friends. I'm on the beach. And I was like, well, what can you see? What's around? So she, just the usual beach stuff, sand, sea, boats, spaceships hovering. I was like,
I love it. I love it.
And so she wasn't on Earth, and her job was going to different planets to help them heal and thrive again. And I was like desperate to know. I thought, I've got to know, so I said, how's Earth doing? Is that still okay? And she was like, oh yeah, it's fine. It went for a bit of a difficult bit, but it's absolutely fine. It's thriving. Everything's good. And I was like, oh, that's good to know.
Yay.
So that was brilliant. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I would enjoy doing that. And why wouldn't you be able to do that too? Because, in the spirit, there's no time, there's no anything that's there. So going in whatever direction. And I can't remember who it was. There was somebody that said something to the effect of, well, how do all these souls keep showing up, and we keep getting bigger and bigger. And it's like, because this is the hot spot right now, but that doesn't mean that they weren't somewhere else another time. What makes you think that the party's just here, Yeah,
exactly. It's all happening at the same time. Quantum physics has proven that it's a scientific fact. There is no time. So all these lives are happening all at once. So it's not about an increase of souls and less souls then and more souls. It's all happening now. So there's the same amount of souls. It's just, if you go back in time, the population wasn't as big, but all the same amount of souls, because we're all living these lives at the same time.
So do you think that you would specifically do a future regression if somebody requested that? Or
I have done that. After that, I was like, God, I've got to do more of these. So I have done future life, yes. And it's good fun. It is good fun. It's fascinating. I done a group one actually, which was really good. So I took everyone into the future, and afterwards everyone was like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Love that. I might have to get in touch with you. Maybe you could record that one and put it on your YouTube.
Love to do that. Yeah, that would be brilliant.
Be so cool. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. And we probably gonna keep going because I could sit here and talk to you for 2 days. So I really could. But I want you to make sure that you tell us where you're at. And I am going to post everything in the show notes, just like last time. I just forgot to mention it last time. So tell us where to find you and where you're spending most of your time right now. And then you also, I want to make sure you do, not besides the past life regression, you do the meditation to go meet your guides. You also do one where the loved ones, just individually, right? And then you do
I do tarot reading. Yeah. So intuitive tarot reading. I also do spiritual coaching, which isn't me coaching, it's your spiritual team really. So we do a bit of quantum jumping in that, which is good fun. So anything woo woo, I'm there. I'm into it. I can do it.
I love
So I do Instagram, but I normally do a tarot card of the day on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, so I do the little 3-minute videos and I talk about sessions that I've had on TikTok. And then my newest I am on Facebook, but jump in and out of that. But my latest one is YouTube. And I'm trying to build that up, and I'm going to be putting videos of full sessions on YouTube. So yeah, that's where you'll find me. I'm the Spiritual Gateway on YouTube. The_spiritual_gateway on both TikTok and Instagram. So you can find me that way.
Yes, and they're so fun, and I'm so grateful that I found you. And I hope that everyone out there goes and has a look and connects with you and watches some of the amazing stories that you tell. And I actually just found you on Instagram too. I think I found you first on TikTok, but I love the readings that I do that too, and I have fun with the energy of that. Just kind of brings the day in a little bit.
It does. It does. Thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you. So there we have it, you guys. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to Jo. I know she'll answer them for you, or you can reach out to me and I'll answer what I can, and I'll pass along what I am not too sure about, because I'm just now wading into the past life regression information, but I'm excited to continue to learn more and to spend more time with you, Jo. I really hope I get to spend more time with you. So,
yes, same.
Yes. All right, guys, then off we go into a new week, and I hope to meet right back here next week. Have a good one. I hope today's episode was interesting to you in some way and fun. If so, hey, find someone to share it with. Maybe they need to hear it too, or maybe they'll just enjoy it. If you'd like, go ahead and grab my tips on supercharging your success. It includes a free short meditation to do just that. You can find that at bit.ly/supercharge your success. Until next time, happy day.